Well, no surprise, really, when we look at this week's Money Matters. We're talking pensions. Can you, can't you? More importantly, should you? National Treasury confirming it will be changing legislation to allow people who are struggling financially to dip into their pension funds. Always a pleasure, isn't it? Personal finance columnist Maya Fisher-French joining us for some sound advice on the matter. So, Maya, hello to you. Early access, is it actually going to work? Because I think people are, from what I've gathered, are misunderstanding what it means by being in financial distress and wanting to buy a new TV. There's a difference.
Absolutely. And I think this is what's very concerning is, of course, we still wait. The devil's in the detail. By the way, this is not happening until probably early next year. So the legislation is still being put together. It's been part of a longer-term reform that the government has been looking at for a while now. So, guys, don't go thinking your problems are solved because you can access your pension fund today. This is only going to happen end of year, probably early next year. And, you know, when I spoke to National Treasury, they said it's going to be very difficult to make people prove hardship. So it's going to be a blanket access. That's the only way they're going to be able to do it. And what we're not sure yet, of course, is how much. Will it be a rand value? They're going to limit it to a certain amount or a percentage of the funds. But one thing I'm warning you all now is that this is going to come with a stick. And the stick is going to be compulsory preservation. So government's not going to allow us to access some of our pension unless, in turn, we are not allowed to access the rest of it until retirement. That means currently when you lose your job or you resign, you're able to take your full pension. That's not going to be able to be the case going forward. So I think we're going to see a balance between access and preservation.
So when we now look at how and why and should you be accessing this, let's say somebody wanted to do this, which retirement fund members does this actually apply to? Somebody might go, well, yes, I think I should draw a bit of this if I can, but who are we actually talking to? Who does this apply to?
You know, if somebody's already lost their job, they've had access to their pensions, right? So this is not going to really affect those who are retrenched. This is going to for people who are currently employed and who are facing financial hardship. Maybe they've got, and unfortunately, the reality is that most of them, it's debt related. So the idea of the consumer buying its way out of coronavirus is not going to happen. This is debt driven, a lot of this hardship. So those are the people who already have they're working, they have a company fund, or maybe they have a retirement annuity, for example. So if you've been retrenched as well, you haven't necessarily been able to access your retirement annuity, this would be open to your retirement annuity. And also preservation funds. So people may have, when they resign from their job, they made a withdrawal, but they put the rest into a preservation fund. This could also apply to them, for example. But it's very important, Gareth, and worth mentioning, this does currently not apply to government employees. Government employees, the Government Employees Pension Fund, the GEPF, does not fall under the Pension Fund Act. And this is a completely and utterly separate parliamentary law that governs them. So I know most of my queries, funny enough, have been coming from government employees. No, there's been no move on that at all.
Yeah, it was made very clear, you're right, Maya, to re-emphasize as well, not for government employees. They were very, very clear on that. Always a pleasure. At Maya on Money on Twitter, if you want. Also back with us again next week. Personal finance columnist Maya Fisher-French joining us here on the South African Morning. While the